You're listening to the Jan Price Show, all about movies, and today my guest is award-winning writer-director Neil LaBute. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I'm excited to talk about your new movie, House of Darkness, which I saw at the premiere at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival this last March. And I have to tell you, it did provoke a lot of discussion afterwards. So it is a thought-provoking film. I went with several friends. Yeah.
Great.
And enjoyed it. So let's tell the audience right before we even start what House of Darkness is all about without giving away too much.
Without giving away too much. Well, two people meet in a bar, and a man and a woman, and the man offers a ride home to the woman and takes her to her home in the woods. He's invited in, and what feels like, I guess, the beginnings of perhaps a rom-com takes a darker turn, and we follow that, I guess, date in quotes at least. Almost it feels like in real time for the next 90 minutes. We're with these people and seeing where this meeting leads us.
And that's all we're gonna say.
Is that fair enough? That's the start anyway.
It's a good start. Yeah, it does. It's a very interesting film. Talk a little bit. You have Justin Long, who's great in this, and Kate Bosworth, and Gia Crovatin and Lucy Walters. Beautiful women. You've surrounded yourself with gorgeous women in this. So let's talk about the casting of this. How did you choose Justin and Kate and the rest of the cast?
Justin was someone who I had worked with in a theater project a few years before, and I thought he was a great idea. Producers brought him up. Producer had a connection to him, I think, gosh, maybe even through college. They'd stayed friends, and he just seemed like the right kind of guy for it. Where I've a number of times in my career, I've cast people who I think an audience, likes both as an actor, but also as just a person. You see Justin and you go, oh, that's a funny guy. I like him.
Yeah.
And so they give them a lot of rope, and room to breathe in a situation like this. A guy who calls himself a nice guy, but you're maybe unsure by the time you get to the end of the movie, what kind of guy he really is. You take a person like Justin, and the audience goes on the ride with you for a lot longer, I think. So he just seemed like the right sort of everyman for the role. Kate I had worked with in the past as well, and she just has a perfect kind of ethereal beauty and a stillness, which is really important. Is that she can really, reacting is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Gia has that same ability. Lucy's in the film a little less. Has a little less screen time, but Gia also, they're very good at staying just very still and watching you, and I think that's kind of unnerving both to the audience and to the character that Justin plays. That they're very watchful and keep just listening to what he says as he kind of like trips himself up, as he's talking about himself and his life in the movie. So Kate just felt like the right kind of person to convey the various aspects, I guess is all I'll say, of that character, and it felt like different material for her.
Yes, it is actually. But you're right. She is beautiful and ethereal, and you can see why he was attracted to her, obviously. And and there was good chemistry between the two of them in this film, also.
Absolutely. Well, it turned out to be real chemistry.
Yes.
So it's funny how, like, looking back, you go, oh yeah, I sort of noticed that they really did click, and it helps you as you're working. It's like, oh, this is just for free. This is just happening here as these people are working together. They're really enjoying the time that they're working together, and so that was a great benefit. But it's you just get lucky, in casting. You either get the right people, and why does someone work on screen, and why doesn't another person, or why do two people work well together? It's a mystery to most everybody. Otherwise somebody would be selling this stuff.
Right.
You just hope you get it right, and I think we did there. And Gia is an actor I've worked with a number of times. I'm also married to her,
Oh,
so
okay.
that
Well,
makes
she's
the casting.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're
Makes the
welcome.
casting process much easier.
Yes, yeah.
I've still been turned down before, so it doesn't always make a sure thing. But she thought this was a fun part, and gave her a big juicy monologue to bite into. And Lucy is someone I knew from New York. We both knew. Um, and so it was a very small, contained cast, but that was kind of how everything came to be.
Well, it's a good you mixed it up well. The alchemy,
Thank you very much.
your
Yeah.
special sauce in there.
Well, I mean, you laugh there and smile, but that is kind of the word. Why does you create, or why do you create gold sometimes, and other times it's absolute tin.
Right.
And it seems like it's the same process, but sometimes people, you think, wow, they actually just don't play well together, or this person doesn't feel like they're great in relationships in movies, and yet they're a great action star, or it's just funny what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's certain actors stay in a certain lane because they know that's a good lane for them to stay in,
That's right.
and
That's
other
right.
actors, such like Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is somebody who's done many, 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 many different things in his career,
Yeah,
and has stretched himself, and you can't really pinpoint him in one lane, which
that's
is
right.
wonderful, and it's that
Yeah, very
versatility,
true. Very true.
yeah. So let's talk about where did you film this?
Filmed in Arkansas, rural Arkansas, and found this home that had been privately built and was available for
Wow.
use. And it gave us a sense of, the trappings of a castle without really being a castle. And so it kind of fit the mode of what we needed, but didn't, wasn't too on the nose. It didn't feel like, oh, it's too obviously a Gothic castle. Did we shoot this overseas or whatever? It meant to be an American home, but it is a big, large private place with a lot of acreage around it. So it managed to work for us. And financially, you're always looking for what's the best place to shoot, and there always seems to be different tax breaks in different parts of the country, and Arkansas just kind of fit the bill at that particular time and had enough infrastructure and crew, and we said, let's take a chance on it.
Well, it's another character in this film, so you
One of
landed.
the few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's amazing. That's a private home. That's amazing in
Yeah, yeah,
itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it's for sale as well. So, if you're looking for a 30,000 foot faux Scottish castle, I know where you can find one.
There you go. This is a good advertisement for that. The owners are going to be very grateful to you for putting in that plug today.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful stuff there, I must say. A lot of he's the man who built it is I think he made his fortune in woodwork. Like
Oh,
luxury woodwork for inside homes, and so that is throughout that place. Only the best, ceilings and moldings and all that. Uh, but he spared no expense on that. But it's
no.
a really fascinating place.
It is. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I was fortunate, as I said, I saw this at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, so I got to see it on the big screen, which is the way that movies should be seen, I always say.
It's still a nice way to see movies, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
with an audience and how they're reacting, and it's just the experience that hopefully will never go away. I don't think it will, but let's hope it doesn't go
Yeah. I
away.
mean,
So,
well, can you imagine that someone seeing like Jaws for the first time on their iPhone?
right.
It just can't be the same experience, right? And I
Oh
guess
no.
I
Yeah.
guess they're okay with that, but it's having been through both, it doesn't quite feel the same.
No, it doesn't. I totally agree with you. I don't even like to watch them on my computer, so I hook my computer up to the my big screen TV
I'll tell
when.
you what, though, I will.
Do
I've gotten to
you?
a place where, yeah, I mean, because when you know how life changes for you, and you don't have that freedom of just like, oh, I'm going to run down and see a matinee, at Lincoln Center. It becomes there's a film that comes of some French movie you want to see. You're either going to see it on iTunes or you're not going to see it. So iTunes it is. I've learned to adapt, but I do miss the big screen when most of the time when I see something.
When you can do it, yeah. Why did you? I mean, you wrote this film, so why make this movie, and then why now?
Well, now is because probably a couple things. I don't think it ever grows old. Our interest in male, female, not even male, female, but relationship power dynamics.
Right.
I've always been fascinated by those, and that's as much a conversation today as it was 30 years ago or 150 years ago. The dynamics do change, but it's always interesting to us. Why what works in a relationship? Why does this person have power? Why do how do the dynamics work? And I've written a lot about that kind of thing,
You
and
sure
so
have.
I use that as a stepping stone into the horror genre on this particular film. But I think people are interested in that, as I say, now as well as anytime. But also just economically, I wrote the movie, and not long after that, COVID happened, and it was the kind of movie that people were looking for that they felt like could legitimately get made within those confines. Small cast, very few locations, with the kind of restrictions that people were working with during COVID. It was a movie that you felt like, oh, this will get made and hopefully not get shut down or anything like that. Whereas a bigger production just ran a lot more risks. So that was also a reason why now that it just was a good fit for the times. But in terms of my writing it, I've always been interested in horror. I've always liked vampires, and I obviously love relationship dramas and comedies, and so a marriage of the two felt like an interesting thing that I hadn't worked on yet, and so I concocted this thing.
And it's as I said, it's a really interesting movie. Again, that will spark conversation afterwards, which is always, I think that's a good thing. It's I've said before on this show, if you just go to the movies and you just go, oh, okay, that was good, and you walk out and that was it. But
Yeah,
when if it's a movie that you can talk about later and get into a deeper discussion about, then it's more fascinating. Or a movie that lingers in your mind that you continue to think about days after. Those to me are the great movies, and they can
it
be.
is. Yeah, great when that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, and that's why I love doing what I do with independent filmmakers and documentarians, because those are the kinds of films that are not the normal genre. It's different and
Right.
they're unique, and that's what I enjoy about them. I also, my very first Sundance was in 1997, and that's when your film In the Company
I
of
remember well.
Men premiered. And I
Right.
have to say, that was the movie everybody was talking about at Sundance. And you went on to win quite a few awards after
Yeah,
for that film, In the Company
that's
of
right.
Men. It still stands up today. It's a good one to watch if you haven't seen it before, or if you haven't seen it in a long time. I would recommend finding In the Company of Men, because you're again a relationship. So there's some similarities. It's The Company of Men is quite the opposite of House of Darkness.
Yes.
And so let's talk about that journey to both of these films.
Well, yeah, I've certainly written about businessmen a number of times. There's a dynamic there of the working person, and particularly the working male. The kind of person that it breeds. Working in an office and having these ambitions that push you to be first and control a situation and makes for an interesting character to write about. So I've written about it on stage. I've written about it on television and on screen. So yeah, for 25 years or so, it's kind of fascinated me, putting those people in various stories, and I ended up writing another one here.
Yes, you have. So obviously you're fascinated and interested in doing that. You started off as a playwright. How did you
Yep.
segue from being a playwright into directing movies and writing movies?
Well, I was a little bit of a frustrated playwright, as we all are. Just the time that it takes to get things up and running, and I had watched a lot of movies in my day, but really didn't know that much about the creation of movies, or as much as I might have read about. Uh, and so, while I was off writing plays and having things done regionally, someone had um, taken one of my scripts and wanted to make a film out of it. So they had um, given me some money and said, we're going to go make a film, and we'll keep you posted. And that, like, a year went by, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I could have made a movie in that amount of time, And now I realize how many films don't get made and how long the process really is, of developing things. But at the time, it felt like insane. Like, who are these people? Why, why are they just sitting around and just talking about it all day? So I thought, I'll go make a movie. I had certainly not. I'd been actually to Sundance, yeah, previous to going there with my film, and I thought, I've heard all these stories about people making movies for $25,000, and I'll find that money. I'll make a movie myself. And so that's basically what I kind of went off and did. Um, and so that frustration drove me to go make a movie. So it was really kind of stupidity of not of the of how things are done that led me to go do what I did. So that's, thumbs up for stupid people, because sometimes not knowing everything leads you to go do something. And it certainly was in that case. I even went off and I made the movie and then didn't even have enough money to finish it, because I didn't realize, oh, post production is going to cost this much as well. I just figured it would magically become a movie if I went and shot it. So the learning curve was big on that one, but I learned quickly. I'm a good listener, and I figured things out, and got the movie in Sundance, and the rest is what got me here. But um, that's how I really kind of made the shift. I went from being someone in the theater to I'll do this myself.
And it's been successful for you ever since then.
I haven't had to paint too many houses in
That's
between, so
that's
it's
good.
been pretty good.
Do you still go? Are you still writing plays? Have you
Oh
gone
yeah,
back to the theater?
of course. I go back as often as they'll have me. So sometimes that's a lot, and sometimes it's not at all. So you do what comes your way.
Are you working on anything right now?
I actually have shot another film that I'm working on right now, called Fear the Night, and I just had a short play in St. Louis about a month ago. So I'm working all the time as much as I can, all in productions around the world. But sometimes they're in New York, sometimes they're in Germany. I just kind of go where the audiences take me.
That's the way this business is. That's what you've got to
That's
do.
that's the business. It's a very vagabond business.
Yeah, yeah. So for you, okay, so you said you're working on another film. What is that film you said that you're
It's
working on?
called Fear the Night.
Is it in production yet, or is it?
Yeah, no, it's in the post production
Oh, it's in
phase right
post production. Who's in that one?
now. Maggie Q
Yes,
is the,
yeah.
is the lead there, so that will be coming your way, sometime in the next year.
Great, great. We'll look forward to seeing that one for sure. How long was this shoot for House of Darkness?
This shoot was probably all of about 11 days.
11 days.
Yeah, I think so. It
Wow,
was,
wow.
and mostly nights. Um, the irony is it was all nights except for one day, but we spent that day in a mine shaft, so it was still like nights. Um, so that that's a tough way to work.
Yes.
It's like working third shift, Um, but you do what you have to do. But yeah, it's by the nature and the economics of it, it had to be done quickly, and so we got a little bit of rehearsal, and the rest of it we just thought on our feet and shot.
amazing. I'm actually amazed because I hear a lot of different, a lot of times it's 25 days or whatever. That seems to be the average for independent films, but
Yeah,
11 is
20, 25 days, but 11 is short.
that's about the shortest I think I've heard, Neil. That's pretty amazing in itself.
I've done one in 8 or 9 days before, but
Wow.
this is right down there with the quickest.
Wow. 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 Um, Nurse Betty.
Yep.
Another wonderful film. Let's talk a little bit about that because that was still early on in your career,
Yeah.
and just a wonderful film. At that point, Renee Zellweger was just sort of starting out her career. She had
Hadn't
done,
had too many leads. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
still doing more supporting stuff.
So let's talk about that casting and what that experience was like doing that film because that is a classic that's on many people's list of, favorite films that
It,
it's on their
it's
their
fun.
list of favorite films. Period.
It's a fun one. Yeah, it's such a weird tone, that one. This comedy, but kind of fantasy and romantic, but bloody. It's a real crazy ride. Um, Renee was, that's sort of make or break. Without her, that movie doesn't work. That kind of fragile, wonderful, sweet but steely quality that she had. The people definitely said everything from, oh, she reminds me of Doris Day to all kinds of things. And she was just the right person for the job. I met a couple of really, specifically one other person they pushed me toward, an actress who was very popular at the time and not right for the film, and they wanted to pay her a bundle of money, because of course it was a big name. But when she and I met, she kind of looked me in the eye and said, I'm not really right for this movie. And I said, and I knew, you're probably better to be honest. And I was like,
Right.
you're right. It's not naturally like the movie that I would think of you in. And she goes, well, I'm going to do you a favor and I'm not going to take it because I'm going to save you a bunch of money. And, and she didn't take it. And I said, guys, you got to look at this Renee Zellweger. She's the right person for the job. And, she came with, you know, a, a, a payday that was, you know, so small compared to what the other person was going to be paid. But it wasn't really about that. It was really about, you've got to have the right person to pull this thing off. I mean, it's in the title. She is the movie. A lot of great cast in that movie,
Yes.
but it
Yeah.
started at the top, and it had to be the right lady, and she was terrific and easy to work with, and a lot of fun.
Oh, I love her. I just think she's marvelous
Me too.
in
Yeah,
everything that she does.
she's great.
Yeah, she really, really is. And in that film, that was the film that really launched her, into more leading roles from there. I think it was, a launching
Yeah, she
pad.
got it. She got a Golden Globe for that, and then she was off to the races. I think Bridget Jones came just after that, and yeah,
Yeah.
she's had a lot of wonderful roles since then.
Yes, she does. She has. And then Possession. I mean, Aaron Eckhart seems to be one of your go-to actors, it seems like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love
I
Aaron. I
love
know
Aaron too. So let's,
time.
yeah.
I put him in some fun character roles there before that, and I wanted him to have one pretty boy role. So we knew he was going to get really into shape and work for Possession, and he was great. He and Gwyneth were great together. I loved Jeremy Northam and Jennifer Ehle as well.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was I'm a big Anglophile and had a great time shooting that movie. One of my favorite books. Uh, it's a tough one because now I look at it and I'm like, gosh, I wish I could have had 6 hours to tell that story. It's such a big, sprawling book. Maybe somebody will go back and do a mini series on it, for the BBC, and they'll get to tell that entire story because it was a fantastic novel. And I liked what we did, but I always felt like, gosh, I wish that was a longer movie. But to shoot, it was a dream. Spent months and months over in England, and I saw, as I was shooting, I saw Renee. She was overshooting Bridget Jones, and that was nice. And it was a real pleasure to go shoot that over and edit it as well over in England.
How wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Neil, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people see House of Darkness?
It's going to be in theaters on the 9th, and then available on VOD and on demand, I think, from the 13th, something like that. So, wherever fine movies are sold, as they say, whether it's on the big screen or the 4-inch big screen, it'll be somewhere if you want to take a look.
Great. Well, Neil, thank you so much. What a pleasure to have you on the show. I look
And
forward to having you back on the show with your next
I
film.
would love that.
Me
Great to
too.
talk to
Thank you. Have a
you.
great day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.